All right, good morning, folks. This is Coffee with Community Services, Alta California Regional Center's weekly service provider meeting. It's 11:04 a.m. on January 17th of 2025. We'll do staff introductions and then get into our agenda for today. Good morning to Alejandra on from Community Services, and I see our QA manager Scott is on, working hard in his office there, rolling around in his chair. And we're going to hear from Sharon today. Good morning, Sharon. And I see Boyd and Marty on as well. Good morning. And Helen, our manager, and Tom, and Christine, and Megan from Community Services, and Rhonda and Carly. Our manager, Jordan, is on. My assistant, Zach, is here. I see Yvette this morning. Good morning. And Virginia as well from Community Services. You'll hear from Michael shortly. Good morning, Michael. And from Community Services, I see Beverly, Ethan, Kylie, Jaslyn. Our lead, Jason, is on as well. I see Mason on. Good morning. And Hubert as well, our emergency coordinator. All right. So for today's agenda, we have our Deaf Culture 101 and Sign of the Week with Michael. And then we're going to go right into our Valor presentation, and Sharon will do just a brief introduction of that, Sharon Krapinski. We're going to talk about rate study implementation and give folks some updates on what has occurred this last week and the status of the Regional Center activities. We are going to get into upcoming HCBS audits, and then we've got some things to share with you from Jaslyn. We have a new flyer for recruitment purposes. Jordan has an update on our CRDP deadline that's coming up soon for submissions for our request for proposals. And then I've got a little update about the DSP Collaborative as well. I will throw it over to Michael.
Hello, good morning. So we have three signs this week. We have a long weekend honoring Martin Luther King. So our first sign will be for Martin Luther King. It will be speech and dream. Okay, so first off, for his name, you're going to just do MLK. So you're going to do your M, your L, and your K. So again, I'll do it slowly. So that's your M, that's your L, and then K. Second one is speech. Let me tilt my camera down a little bit. So so picture a platform, and then you have the speech happening on the platform. Or you might see it without that non-dominant hand. Then we have dream. It's kind of a two-part. So you have your pointer finger coming off of your head, and then both hands. Great. So those three signs are used in Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous quote. And then I sent a link, or I will send a link if you want to go ahead and practice. You'll be able to watch the video again. Okay. So now for Deaf Culture 101, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk. I know we're talking about Martin Luther King coming up and talking about Black deaf culture. I sent another link. I'd encourage you to watch the history of Martin Luther King Jr. in sign language. We're specifically going to talk today about Black American Sign Language, or you'll also hear BASL. And that might be new to a lot of you. So we have American Sign Language, but there's also BASL, Black American Sign Language. They have their own language and their own culture completely. So Black American Sign Language is unique compared to ASL. It's used by Black individuals who are deaf. That started during segregation of schools. So when there was that racial separation, because the students could not socialize together, the Black students developed their own signing, their own language, and a culture within that language. So there's a lot of history there. And how is BASL and ASL different? BASL typically will have a bigger signing space. Another thing is they more frequently will use both hands. American Sign Language typically will use a lot of one-handed signs, so that is a big difference you will notice. Also, facial expressions. There's more emphasis with the facial expressions in Black American Sign Language. And then also, they have some unique signs that American Sign Language does not use. It's specific to BASL. So why is BASL important? Because the deaf community is proud. They're proud of their culture and their history. And the history shows how they have adapted and created their own language. It's a reminder to everyone in the deaf community that there is diversity even in deaf culture. BASL just has more of a history too and representation. And BASL was not recognized as much because before it was two separate languages. And then now BASL is more integrated with American Sign Language just because it was easier. So it's really important to continue to remind everyone that that community is diverse and includes many different cultures. So I encourage you all to look at the link. It has a lot more information and resources. It goes very in depth. It'd be very good for us all to know. And for those of you who have a consumer who are deaf and they are Black, maybe reach out to the interpreting agency for an interpreter that matches their language and matches their culture. That is all for today. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Michael. I am going to throw it over to Priscilla and Elizabeth. So you're welcome to unmute yourselves, and I have made you co-hosts. I'm throwing it to Sharon first, and then I'm throwing it over. There we go.
So hello, everybody. We are very proud to have Valor here with us today. We have Priscilla Klassen, who is one of the project coordinators, and Elizabeth Grisby. So Valor is a program that was founded in 1980. It is a national organization, and here in California, it is the Sexual Assault Coalition, committed to end sexual assault. So they are here to talk about what they offer and their program to give us some more information about that. So go ahead, Priscilla and Elizabeth.
Hi, folks. Is everything appearing correct on the screen?
It's
No?
showing is that just a black screen right now.
Okay, this has happened to me a couple times recently. Let
It's
me
coming
try
up.
one more.
Oh, it's working now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but you're only seeing the actual slides, right?
Yeah, you
Not the
probably want to, it looks like you need to
presentation.
launch the PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's what I just did when it showed up in dark. All right, let's try it one more time.
There you go.
Yeah, all right.
Yep.
Still good? I just swapped it. Okay, and you're not seeing any weird
All we are seeing
gap stuff?
we're seeing your note pages and not the presentation anymore.
Of course. All right. Let's see. Let me try it a third time.
There it is. Oh.
Hang on one sec. Let me just swap it over here. Good now? Yes? No, it's not in presenter view. It's just the slides.
It's presenter view.
It's still in
It
presenter.
is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we'll just exit presenter view then.
Okay, that looks good.
That looks good.
Mhm.
Sorry, y'all. It's
Okay.
one of those days. Liz and I have been having a bunch of tech issues before this, so thank you for bearing with us. Hi, thanks again. My name is Priscilla Clausen, and you're joining me to talk about our CA Leads project. We are California advocates leading in engagement, accessibility, and developmental disability services. All right, so this is our team. The team consists right now of me, my supervisor, and our director of prevention, Ashley Klein Jimenez. Jordan, you probably all know, he is the executive director of the ARC of California, which is located in Sacramento. And then Liz, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? You're on mute still. There you go.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, but your camera needs to be backed up a little bit. We're only seeing the bottom of your face.
How about now?
Perfect.
Okay. I'm Elizabeth Grisby. I help out with this project. And I'm a consultant of the Arc of California, but I also work for one of our regional centers, Golden Gate Regional Center. I'm the rights advocate for Golden Gate Regional Center. And this project is near and dear to me because I think everybody needs to have a voice, especially if they've been abused. So I'm happy to be helping out Valerie with this project.
Thanks, Liz. I invited Liz here today because she works with me on a weekly basis on this project. We work a couple days a week together. So she's been really involved in the project for the last, I'd say, 3 years on each phase of it. And now we've been working together a lot more closely over the past year. So I thought it'd be good for her to come in and talk about some of the stuff that we've done up until now. So thanks for joining, Liz. Like Sharon said, I am joining you from Valor. We are also known as Valor US. We are California's Anti-Sexual Violence Coalition. So what that means is that we support all of the rape crisis centers in California. We provide technical assistance and resources for them. We also have a national presence. We have a number of projects that are national projects, including the National Sexual Assault Conference, which we host every other year. And we will be hosting this year in Anaheim in August. We're also accepting submissions right now. So if anyone is interested in doing a presentation about the intersections of disability and sexual violence, we have a disability track in our conference. So if you know anyone or if you're interested, we're always looking for new submissions. And then just to give you a little bit of information about rape crisis centers, so many folks don't even know that they exist, don't know what they do, don't know how to find them. But rape crisis centers in California, it's very similar to like the regional center system in that it's kind of unique in California. They don't act this way in every state, but in California, the way rape crisis centers work is that they have centralized sexual assault response teams that actually go to specific hospitals that are set up to do forensic exams. And those hospitals have forensic nurses on staff on site who come out on call, officers that know what the process is, and then they also have advocates, and the advocates come from rape crisis centers. The advocates will be there to support the survivor and kind of guide them through the process, let them know that they have choices and they have options, so they're not just feeling like, I started this process, now I have to continue it no matter what. I have to press charges. The advocates are really there to let folks know that they have options, they have choices, they can do what they can go forward in any way that they want. They also provide accompaniment, so to things like court cases, they can come with you, accompaniment to forensic exams, so they can literally hold your hand while you're getting a forensic exam if that's what you want. Short-term, long-term counseling, advocacy, community education, so a lot of times they go into public schools and talk about sexual violence with children from a young, like age-appropriate stance. They also provide a number of referrals to different resources and case management. The ARC of California, you're probably all pretty familiar with them and what they do. They oversee different ARC chapters, but they are their own organization. So they really are the ones that focus on public policy in terms of developmental disabilities and in terms of their ARC chapters. So they don't necessarily have like enforced guidance over different ARC chapters. It's a lot of like, this is how we can help you, and you can kind of decide what you want to take, what you want to leave, how we can be of support to you. And that's essentially how Valor supports rape crisis centers as well. We don't dictate to them what they have to do. We just give them support and give them options for what they can kind of take and leave. How our project started, we really saw a gap in services between people with disabilities and rape crisis centers. We know that California has a large population of folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and we have a large population of people who are sexually assaulted. And we know that these numbers overlap and that there's a huge gap in services. We find that rape crisis centers are not reaching out to disability service providers. They feel like they don't know how to provide appropriate support. They don't see people with disabilities coming in for services. And so a lot of times people think that, well, if I don't see you coming in for services, it's because you don't need services. But what we know oftentimes is when it comes to sexual violence, if we don't see people coming in for services, those are the people who are most likely at higher risk. They're not receiving services, and so they're not getting any prevention strategies. They're not aware of some of the ways that sexual violence can appear in their communities. So we saw this gap, and we also saw that disability service providers, while they're seeing high numbers of people disclosing, they don't know where to go to for support, right? They don't know that that rape crisis centers even exist in the community, or maybe they do know, but they've had a bad experience. They referred someone there, and then that person was referred back to the regional center, right? And we know that that's not something the regional center can provide support for. They can help you find a therapist, perhaps, but that's kind of it. There's not really, that's not what the regional center does, right? You provide referrals and resources, but you can't necessarily provide advocacy or therapy or counseling for someone who's been sexually assaulted. So there was this huge gap that we really wanted to see rape crisis centers become more informed about what it means to provide services for somebody with a disability, and then disability service providers to find a place in the community that they could know and trust and build a relationship with, so that when these disclosures do happen, they're not scrambling. They already have this relationship. They know who to go to and who to talk to, and kind of what the process may even look like. So that's how our CA Leads project was born. We had the vision that folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities that are impacted by sexual violence across California would have access to services that were safe, barrier-free, and responsive to their needs. And what this meant is through the grant that this is a project for, it's an Office on Violence Against Women grant. There is a specific set of grant deliverables. It's really a specific process that you have to go through, kind of checking off each step. And a lot of it is relationship building. We spent an entire year meeting with the ARC of California every single week and talking about like, what happens when we disagree on something? Like, what will our process be? And like really building that trust together to make sure that as we go forward, we're on the same page about things. And one of the big conversations that we had was mandated reporting. That's huge for our communities, right? With disability service providers, everyone is a mandated reporter, right? You don't have the luxury of being able to decide like when this should be reported, when it shouldn't be reported. You have to report everything, right? But with rape crisis centers, we really value autonomy. We think that part of the process of someone healing from a sexual assault is being able to make choices for themselves and get that autonomy back. So this was a huge conversation in our collaboration of like, how do we navigate those two different perspectives? And so going through all of these different processes really kind of helped us get on the same page of like, what are we going to do if we talk to someone who discloses an assault to us? Like, we as advocates, right? We think we listen to them, we give them options, we help them and let them make their own choices. But ARC, that they don't have that luxury, right? They have a legal responsibility that they have to do this. So it was really an interesting process of kind of back and forth and navigating what we could do and how we could best provide services in a way that we both felt was appropriate. Liz, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about our focus group and some of the key findings.
Okay. Thank you, Priscilla. When we talked to survivors in our focus group, they told us it was really important to them that they were treated with the same respect anywhere,
This shit scared me. I thought it was on video.
anywhere else would be given and offered choices during the reporting and examination process. Survivors with disabilities also said the shame and self-blame stopped them from reporting. And I'm going off the script right now. It's for survivors. It's really important that they are believed. That's another thing why they usually don't report what happened, because they feel like no one is going to believe them, because everybody been told that people with disability don't know anything about sex. They don't know anything about their body, and they're asexual. So when something does happen, it's like, who, who do we go to if we can't go to our day program or our social worker? That's why we want Great Crisis Center to merge with the regional center and provider to make the community much stronger and easy for somebody to talk about what happened to them. Survivors also said when they did support the foster staff, they had a negative experience. Like some of the staff would say, well, what did you do to cause it? Staff at Rape Crisis Center and at Disability Services Organization both said they didn't have training about disability in relation to sexual violence. If they did receive training, it was only once and did not cover much. One of the things we have created as a training series for Rape Crisis and Disability Service Providers. Survivors with IDD help Rape Crisis staff learn about disability and the ways ableism contribute to sexual violence. Responding to sexual assault disorders provide disability services staff, which look at how sexual violence impacts their community and how to respond in a way that won't cause more harm. These are some of the publications we currently have available. We have a Spanish and English guide to mandate reporting that is written in plain language, so service users understand the process. We also have a mandated reporting guide for the disability services providers to help include the survivor in discussion making and reporting. We have died as sample policies for rape crisis Center for navigating mandating for and provide accommodation. Our most recent publication is a resource guide for all Earth organizations. It has resources in plain language as well as policy recommendations and safety plans. The QR code goes to the ballot page with our current resources. Priscilla, do you want to talk about where we are now?
Thanks, Liz. Appreciate you filling everyone in on that info. I am going to try to drop this in the chat. It's my computer's all wonky and I'm a little wonky today too, so I apologize, but I'll type it in the chat after I get out of this.
For Elizabeth or Priscilla, so you're gonna drop it in now. Are we able to download those items?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so I just want to comment just real quickly, and I'll let you summarize it. But I love how comprehensive it is. I love that you have the information, for both sides to ensure competency levels, and writing the plain language version to support like all the language needs of our clients too. So this is fantastic. I appreciate again how you are comprehensively addressing this issue that you guys have identified of a lack of that connection between these two worlds.
Yeah, thank you. Liz, did you have something to say?
Yeah, because it's important to me that as a client myself, a regional center, and somebody who works there as the rights advocate. And I can say I'm the survivor. So all three of those things mean a lot to me. I want the disability community know that they're not alone. That yes, you have the regional center, but you also have people like Valor, like Priscilla, and hopefully now there's rape crisis centers who all know how to work with our community. So people never have to feel alone, and they don't have to feel like it's their fault if something happens. Because you never want to feel like it's your fault. Because it's not your fault. And you have every right to tell someone. And that's why I like being an advocate for people with disabilities. Because it's my world. And I want people to feel comfortable talking up. So I'm glad to be a part of this progress.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, like Liz said, really this project started out of a need that we saw on all sides. And we want to make sure that folks have the resources that they need and that our job, for most of us at least, is not to investigate what happened, right? It's just to provide resources and help for people. So we want to make sure that everyone is believed. That, no matter what that person tells you, they're being met with like a thank you for trusting me with this, and how can I get you help and services, right? We're not there to decide whether something did or didn't happen unless you're in QA or something. Maybe that is your role, but for most of us, right, we're just there to provide support and resources. And like Liz talked about a little bit earlier, our focus groups, we talk to survivors with disabilities, and one of the things that they all said to us was, I didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't think they'd believe me. And that's what overwhelmingly all survivors say, right? It's common, is that I'm not going to be believed. Why would I tell someone if I wasn't going to be believed? So we just want to make sure that the first person that they go to does have that response of, I believe you, I will find help for you. And then just to talk a little bit about moving forward in these last couple minutes, this is where we're currently at right now. The things that we've accomplished, some of our Spanish translations, regional trainings where we have met with rape crisis centers and introduced them to some of the disability service providers in their area, met with regional centers and introduced them to the rape crisis centers in their area. We've also created a resource guide that I think Liz talked about just before this. It's our newest publication. So all of this is available on our website. We're not currently offering live trainings of the 101 series yet, which is the 2 sessions that we posted at the beginning. We are doing a Spanish version of that training. We've already done one for disability service providers, and we have the recordings for that up on our website. So we have the English and Spanish versions available, the recordings for disability service providers, and now we're working on the Spanish versions for Rape Crisis Center. But we have the recordings, they'll remain up in perpetuity. So if you have somebody who needs, some extra hours of training, that's a good thing to just say, hey, go ahead and watch this series. And you can give people extra hours that way. I don't know what your process is with DDS of getting things approved for like continuing education hours, but that's an option. We also have all of our resources, and then upcoming, we're going to have our 201 series. So the 201 series that we have is going to be 2 sessions, one for rape crisis centers, one for disability service providers. Of course, you can always join both no matter where your position is or what organization type you're with. The one for rape crisis centers really focuses on access and accommodations and making sure that we are offering accommodations to everyone, regardless of what our perception of someone's ability or disability is, because we know that accommodations can help everyone, regardless of their disability status, and that it's not always a safe place for someone to disclose if they have a disability, right? They may not feel comfortable doing that. Or they may not identify as having a disability, but they know that certain accommodations help them. So we want to make sure that we're focusing as rape crisis centers on offering available accommodations to everyone. And then the training session that we have for disability service providers is called Reporting and Supporting, Approaching Mandated Reporting with Care. And that training is really about making sure that we're involving the survivor in the reporting process. What we know is that sexual violence takes away power and control from people. And the mandated reporting process oftentimes does the same thing. So in order to not re-traumatize survivors, we think the best approach is to include the survivor in the reporting process as much as possible. It's not always going to be safe to do that. So, there is some level of discernment that you have to have when approaching this, of course. But I have seen in my experience, I've worked as a disability service provider in the past in FHA homes. Um, and I've seen so many service providers that don't tell someone they're making a report, right? So somebody discloses to them and they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened to you." Then they go report it and they never talk to the person about it again. And then all of a sudden, Adult Protective Services is showing up at your day program or showing up at your home and putting you in a really uncomfortable position. And then you don't talk to the person about it again, right? That relationship, that level of trust is broken, right? Or that person may think, I told a few people, I don't know who to trust now. Now I don't trust anyone because someone told, and now I'm being moved out of my home, the only home I've ever known, right? There's all these different outcomes that can happen from mandated reporting. And while, go ahead, Liz.
It's like we want to bring people to the table so they feel like they have and they're taking their power back. It's like person thinking. You're not gonna do anything without the person with a disability. Because why? Because it's their life. And they have a right to be in the center of everything. And this is the same thing. So before you report something, you make sure that the person that told you knows that the next step is calling Adult Protection Services or Child Protection Services if it's a little kid. But
Or the ombuds person, right?
yeah,
So
Yeah,
we're gonna need
we're
to
out of,
move to-
yeah,
we're
we're
gonna
out
need
of,
to move to questions probably pretty quickly here.
yes. But thank you, Liz, for summing that up. We know that mandated reporting is not an option, but what is an option is how we include people. So that's really what this next training is going to focus on. So thank you all for listening to us. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can also type them in the chat. We'll hang out. But thank you all.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And yeah, questions, please don't hesitate. You guys are going to put your email addresses, I hope, please, in the chat, both of you. And then I don't know if you have the opportunity to drop that PowerPoint in the chat if it's not in there, but that would be great too. Thank you so much for this, Sharon. I'm going to throw it back over to you real quickly. I think you've got ability to share your screen, right? Maybe I don't need to have you share your screen. Let me just have you fill in with folks real quickly. So, let's see, in the chat we have, is there a mailing list for getting info on the trainings? Priscilla, is there a mailing list?
Yeah, if you just go to our Valor website, which is valor.us, you can sign up for the Valor Weekly Digest, and that will give you trainings about all things Valor. It isn't, we don't have one specifically for our project though.
Yeah, this is fantastic. And again, I would challenge probably any provider of ours that has worked in adult services to say that they have not run into issues like this with individuals that they have been serving. And creating these linkages between the services that aligns with us, that's part of our strategic plan for our regional center, is to ensure that we get full access to the available community resources. Sharon, I think we'll talk about your training next week that you possibly looking at. I would like to just real quickly give a rate study update for folks before I dive into other stuff. So currently we are in the process. We have received a number of rate workbooks, and we know that those rate workbooks include the quality incentive information, we believe, from Group 1, which is the group that the department indicated completed all activities of the service provider directory prior to the end of November. We are going to begin immediately implementing and updating those rate increases within the system. We want to ensure that you get your rate increases as quickly as possible. The alignment the department had with getting the acknowledgement forms and having those all in, what's most important to us is that if you're going to get a rate increase, we can get it to you as quickly as possible. We know that there might be additional information that we're going to be receiving from the department for some other providers, that they will have a quality incentive amount possibly that is added to their rates. We are not going to be reducing rates. We will hold, folks that are hold harmless for anyone right now that we don't have all of the information on. But we do want to ensure that we will get all of the rate increases in that we can in the month of January. So that's our plan right now. We're working on automating our acknowledgement forms. On our acknowledgement forms, we are planning on including an indication whether or not you are in a held harmless rate or not. That's important for some of you service providers that might be switching service codes, like on the document, so that it's very clear to you, this is what your new service code is, but also that your rate is held harmless through June 30th of 2026. That was not included on the acknowledgement form that DDS created, but we met with DDS and they said it was fine for us to add that to our form so that you providers have it. Additionally, for our acknowledgement form, and we're going to go over this in depth next week, we'll also be putting your rates and your new subcodes on there as well, which again, we wanted to make sure that you had not only the ability to look at the information from the worksheets that the department is giving, but you also see it in writing there for you too. So that's kind of the update. Eric, go ahead. Yes, please.
Wow, you were so fast. I raised my hand and you immediately called.
Because
me.
I was done and we've got 9 minutes, so I'm rolling.
Yeah,
through.
I tried to make sure that I didn't interrupt you. Just really quickly, when the very first directives included a option for exemptions, and it was supposed to be a 12/31 date, but we were like, wait, it goes through March. Just really quickly, the exemption process, can folks still apply to be exempt if they go through this process with your letters of agreements and you go, wait a minute, we don't quite fit. Can they still work with you to get an exemption?
Yeah, like so for example, if you're like a service code 055 provider, service code 063 provider, for example, and we haven't even done any like rate calculations to determine where you're going to go to, then we have those ones kind of categorized as well. Like we've got a separate group there. We've got supported living providers. We have 17 of them or 16 of them that have like some tiered rates, like a bunch of different rates. And we're trying to tackle all of those right away because we want to give those vendors rate increases this month. Rather than waiting till we have everything with the acknowledgement forms, because we know the vendors are going to qualify for the rate increases. And so we're just trying to, again, we had been talking about the process being, we made sure we had your acknowledgement forms and everything else. But the reality is that the way that DDS is releasing the information to us, we don't want to delay any further the opportunity and then have to just end up retro paying back you to the month of January. Because one thing the department has made abundantly clear is that those rates are effective January 1 for you. Whether, it might take a while for us to get some of these things, but you're going to get paid back to January 1 for what you qualify for. Go ahead, Eric.
But that exemption that was in the first directives, like in October, that said if you don't think you fit in a category, you can request an exemption with your regional center. It had a 12/31 date to do that by, but we haven't done these exemptions. People can still do that, right?
Yeah, well, I will just say the 055 workbooks came out today.
Yeah, so
we just received the rate workbooks today for 055, and Robin LeMay, our accounting manager, sent me a message saying, "Yay, we finally have them." So, like, Michelle's staff want to get going. We specially categorize the 055s, the 063s, some of those different ones that don't crosswalk as easily and do require a little bit more of a conversation. But I did just want to touch on the fact that if folks do want to look at switching over to that new service code, we are going to indicate that you're in essence keeping your hold harmless rate through that time frame, even though you're looking at switching over. So again, the alternative being you keep your 055 service code, and then we still give you the new rate possibility, or you're held harmless. Yeah, Andrea.
Just on the 055s that you say that don't fit the crosswalk, would that include folks that maybe have a ratio that is not recognized in the rate study?
Yeah, totally.
Thank you.
All right. And real quickly, we're gonna skip HCBS stuff here, but I do want to go to to Lindsay Dyba, because I saw her logged in, and I don't think done a great job talking about this upcoming event for trivia night.
Oh, thanks, John. So Futures is hosting a trivia night on the 31st. It's $10 to attend. It's all ages. The questions will be like answerable by probably like ages 8 and up, but there'll be stuff for younger kids to do as well. We'll have an ASL interpreter, we'll have Braille options, and we'll have Spanish options as well. And I dropped the flyer in the chat. And so I hope you all can join us or bring people from your programs or your homes to join us.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I see that, I know we plugged it a lot last week, but the upcoming training that Michael is doing. And so we have that in the chat as well. The Kylie has dropped that one in there. Jordan, I'm going to share my screen real quickly, if you don't mind, with our calendar. And
Great.
just a quick plug, right, that we've got
Yeah.
the January 22nd deadline is coming up, and we still are encouraging service providers. You may well. There certainly have been service providers that have written their proposals to us in less than 5 days. So, Jordan?
Yes, absolutely. So you guys, we are really excited to start reviewing these proposals next week. Just a reminder of the projects that we're pitching, right? If you go to the handout, it gives a full description of each project. We're looking at 2 specialized residential facilities, which are now categorized, right, is service code 915 level 7s, customizable rates. So we are looking at both a step down for children, so children that might be stepping out of highly restrictive environments, like maybe a advanced behavioral support home or a STAR facility, which is operated by DDS. We're also looking for an adult step down facility, similar, right, taking people from highly restrictive settings, really stepping them down into less restrictive options. We are also looking for a psychiatric wellness center for individuals who may not need a full wraparound service, but really need access to a center where they can get some additional support groups or psychoeducational groups, and also their ongoing psychiatric medication management needs. We are also looking at 2 types of different dental services, right? We're really trying to focus on dental desensitization and really helping our clients become more tolerant of dental services and just activities in the family home or in their own home if they're an adult, right, or any whatever setting they're in, so that we can really try to reduce the use of sedation dentistry, right? Really trying to focus on that for folks. We're also looking at a dental desensitization app so that these clients and families that might be waiting to get into kind of a restrictive dental procedure, maybe it would be with sedation, but really helping them practice these techniques at home while they're waiting to get into a dentist service. And then we also have an adult day program that we're looking at. We were really hoping to target our outlying counties for that, right? Looking at hopefully El Dorado, Nevada. We're also, open to other counties as well, but we've received a lot of stakeholder feedback for the need for additional licensed, right, site-based adult day programs for clients living in some of those rural areas.
All right. So,
we hope to get lots of applications, guys. The January 22nd at 3 p.m. is our deadline.
So for those that aren't familiar with this overall, if you're interested in doing a service like this, you put a response to our request for a proposal. What we encourage you to do is really read the description, read the little citations that are in there that describe what the services are, and individualize your proposal to address those specific needs. Jaslyn, are you available to share real quickly your flyer?
Yeah, I can share real quick. Let's see. Okay, so I'm Jaslyn, the Community Services Specialist here at ACRC for Durable Medical Equipment. We are currently looking for DME vendors, specifically contracted with Medi-Cal and in the Sacramento area. So I just wanted to spread the word. If anybody knows any companies that may be interested in becoming vendors, please send them my way, and I will put the flyer with the contact information in the chat.
All right. I think that's what we'll get done today. I'll update folks on the DSP Collaborative and some other things next week. But I do just want to give one more plug for the Valor training materials and being connected and professionalizing your workforce to being very, sensitive to these issues that go on with clients that absolutely impact every aspect of their life when they are involved in it. And that's why forensic issues are such a big thing at our regional center, because like your day aquarium service can be amazing, your care home can be amazing, your transportation service can be amazing. But if people have some of these things going on in their life, it makes it extremely challenging to be able to function across all aspects. And so your sensitivity to this is appreciated. And we're going to continue to promote these types of additional types of services and supports that are beyond just some of the traditional ways we think of supporting people with developmental disabilities. So I just want to thank Priscilla and Elizabeth again. I hope everyone has a great Martin Luther King weekend, and we'll see folks next week. Take good care.